you both are recording and filming in this show. So
No, we're not. No, we're not. It's in a hot air balloon. What are you talking about?
we are officially live. Woohoo! Wow.
Wow.
I'm
I'm
grateful
reposting
you're
to
here.
Instagram.
Oh, thank you very much. It's very nice of you.
It's my pleasure.
I'm with Anya and Casey from the famous Headgum Studios, Headgum Network. Truly, I was telling this to someone yesterday. Two people why I am still doing shows at Headgum. I think if either of you were not there, I would definitely have pushed shows to be like, well, let's like look around and stuff. But you both are so
okay. With our year-end reviews coming up, I'm gonna need you to clip that out.
Yeah, we're gonna clip this
to the higher ups here at Headgum. That's really good stuff.
Well, not only are you both great people, but you're extremely like supportive and helpful since day one. And it's been super helpful for Hollywood Handbook and Here to Help and a bunch of other shows. It is very interesting, spending time at like a ton of studios in LA, seeing what works and what doesn't. And one thing I love about Headgum, and this is a huge part to both of you, is just how welcoming it is. Like that's the thing that really stands out for me is I immediately feel like super comfortable when I'm there in a way that I don't always at studios. So is that a thing you guys actively try to do, or is it just your personalities, or what the hell are you guys doing over there?
This is great to hear. I've honestly never been to another podcast studio.
Wow.
So this is, for me, I just say it's just how I am, how we are at least, I think.
Yeah.
What about you, Anya?
Yeah, I think work sucks. The least that we can do is like have fun and be nice to each other when we're here. I don't know. And I love my job, but like I think we're all suffering kind of.
Sure, every
eternally.
job turns into a grind.
Of course, all day long. Yeah. And we all want to be just like sitting at home.
Even if we enjoy what we're doing,
of course.
It's still like, I want to go home sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that's normal. So I think it's very important for me for people. But also like my personality, I like to be hospitable. So it's nice to be able to like have a space where we can welcome people in and like also create things that we enjoy. And I think that's the other part of it is that we're working on things or bringing in people who are working on things that we actually enjoy. And Headgum is pretty good about the way we bring on people who are like staffers, whether that's like full-time or freelance, like you, Kevin. But also like our shows we bring on because we like the shows, but also the people who make them. And I think that's a thing that Headgum always has done. And it makes everything else a lot easier. It makes us all have a lot more fun, and it makes it easy to be a welcoming place because everyone just wants to come and hang out with other people they like.
I'm really excited to chat with both of you for a lot of reasons. One of them being you are the first guests I've had on who are full-time proper network employees, like current network employees. And I think you both have like a very unique experience from previous guests because, all of the like freelancers that I've chatted with, I guess Apodaca works at a network. Sorry, Matt. But
no comment. That's fine.
In the sense that me and a lot of the previous guests are working on the same shows over, and Matt can relate to this too, the same shows like over and over again. And I think both of you both have like your staple shows, but because you work at a network, you experience like such a wide variety. It's not just the same two people you see every day. There's different people in there all the time. Yeah. How has that experience been? Because to be honest, I do miss that like every day is a different person kind of variety.
I think it's cool because we get to meet a bunch of people
Yeah.
and work doesn't feel the same. Like I like that, like almost like month to month. I never really know what like next month is gonna look like, who's gonna be here,
Yeah.
what shows we're gonna be working on. Aside from like, you know, the like Doughboys is pretty consistent, at least on my end. I like that I can't predict what my like life is gonna be like
Yeah.
more than like a couple weeks out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because there's always new shows, or we're doing pilots, or you know, special streams or whatever.
Yeah.
And I enjoy the variety.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same. I mean, my brain like really thrives on the novelty of it, like to a fault where like I actually find, I think a flaw of mine is like follow through. Like I think working on one show forever would really kill me
Mhm.
because I'd be like, I need something new, and I like having something new all the time. But it is also like a little bit chaotic, and I think my mental health might be a little better if I had routine week to week and knew what like every day was like. But I don't think I'd trade it. Like I think there's pros and cons to both
Yeah.
ways of doing it. Like I think about the way you guys work, and you and Emma and Doughboys and stuff, and like there is like a really nice consistency there. But I also think,
Mhm.
well, no, because you guys are freelance. I think my ultimate nightmare would be working at a network where I was like 9 to 5, but only worked on
A single show.
one or two shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I know a lot of places, like bigger places, do that, where they have like a dedicated engineer and editor for this show. I think that would drive me crazy. I think it's fun to be able to always be working on something and like new challenges and like
Yeah.
problem solving something new all the time. I think that keeps it fresh for me.
And I think,
But we also, I don't know if people know this, like we did not come from podcasting
No.
before this.
yeah,
We came
can
from
you
very
please, I
different
should have done
places.
a better job talking
No,
about
you're doing great,
both of
Kevin.
you.
You're actually,
no, it's
you're
a
doing
mess.
really good.
No, it's a mess. It's a
No, I was
mess.
actually thinking, I was like, Kevin's kind of a really good host.
I
He can do it all.
appreciate it. There are people in here, believe it or not, probably just one person who don't know who you are. Can you both talk a little bit about what you do at Headgum for anyone who doesn't know, but you all should? Pop quiz.
Yeah, Anya and I started within a week of each other.
That's
at
crazy.
the
I didn't
s-
know that.
Yeah, at the start of 2022. This room we are in was just an empty room, and I was hired to, I think my original title was video editor.
Mhm.
And then they were like, well, we're like turning into a video studio. And then it became pretty clear, like, oh no, that's not my job. It's not just editing videos. I'm like, you know, we're lighting the studio, we're designing how it looks. Anya came in after I had already started like figuring out what to do with like a camera system, and then me and Anya and Marika, our coworker out in New York,
Mhm.
kind of designed how we thought this studio should look. And you know, there was like a table in here, and there was talk about it, like, oh, we'll like have like a table set up, like a old school traditional podcast style, but you know, the conversations about like having like trying to make more shows video.
Mhm.
You know, making decisions about like, well, let's like open it up and like kind of shoot it with that in mind, so people can still record, sit down on comfortable chairs and talk to each other, but it doesn't look like we're just like every show on YouTube would look like just a bunch of people sitting around the same desk. Try and make it feel more like a talk show vibe.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like our first job, was figuring that out. And then once we kind of had it up and running, we started doing shows in here, and then also learned that even if we landed on something we liked, we change it. And it feels like this place is just we're always making decisions on, you know, different things to change about the studios we're recording in.
And you both were so ahead of the game with that, because video just became bigger and bigger and bigger. And now it's like Spotify and YouTube are like weirdly the biggest platforms in podcasting.
Yeah.
And their biggest way that they're competing with each other now is like on the video side. And it's not really it just is almost becoming less and less about the audio and more about having like a competitive video creator experience. And I think a lot of people got onto that, like, I don't want to say last year, but a little too late. And that was definitely one of the benefits of, like, you know, with my shows at Headgum is like people that come in who have never been here. And I saw, you know, a couple hours ago, 2 people like popped their heads in who are podcasters, and they're like, whoa, this is like a video studio. This is like a full 3 camera setup and stuff. And so that's always fun to see the, like, how the, like, podcast studios are like evolving. And I think like back to what I was saying at the beginning, like both a comfortable experience, but also like a professional experience. If you can provide that, you truly beat like 90% of the competition.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are like because we hear that all the time about much bigger companies than ours. Like we'll have people either who have shows on those networks come in and guest here. And like, I think people have like a problem imagining past what a video podcast has always looked like, which is a table and chairs and people sitting around it, or like, you know, because you have a small space, they think you can't. I don't know. I mean, obviously I'm not a video person, so like it was all Casey made it look the way it looks now. But it's kind of like if you put the infrastructure in, you can like buy the same things that you have that you make movies with, and you can put them in your podcast studio, and then your podcast studio looks nice. You can buy couches and people will be comfortable. Like it's really like that simple to me, but I think people are really like blown away when they see our space, which is so nice. But I'm always like, yeah, you kind of just like think beyond what you think is possible. And it's good.
One of the things that I think is like I regularly hear when people come in and see our studios for the first time is, wow, it looks so much bigger on camera, which is nice. It's nice that we like, you know, like exactly what Anya was just saying. Like, yeah, you could do a lot with a small space, and the cameras help.
Yeah. But to be clear, like we're on our hands and knees in the studio multiple times a week.
Yeah.
And like always kind of like jerry rigging or trying to figure out like how to solve a problem, which maybe that's the part that is some people like can't. Like, yeah, I don't know. There's very small, stupid things that we have to solve all the time. And there's no real solve for them because it doesn't exist for a podcast studio, like the exact thing that we need. And so I think some people are unwilling to problem solve that way. But I think we find that fun where I'm like, we kind of have to just like build something that we design ourselves in order to like accomplish whatever it is that what we need.
That, and it's also right now is very fun to me. Like, building my studio and seeing like your guys' place, like was definitely very inspired by it. And then working with people like my friend Wes, who helped a ton with the lighting and the cameras, and a ton with, you know, just all around with the studio was extremely helpful. You know, he's now being asked by like other podcasters and stuff like, hey, I kind of want to have like a little setup in my basement, or like I have this ADU in my backyard. And so he was like, man, it's just a very fascinating time. Obviously kind of like a post-COVID-y thing too, of like, hey, I can create stuff in my, you know, extra bedroom. And so now he's like working on, you know, with like a few people doing a similar thing, like making a small room look good with like a wide angle lens, like a nice light and a good microphone. But he's like, when you walk in, same thing. It's like, it's like a closet, but they're able to, it's like a kind of little creative challenge of like, how can I make this space look as good as possible?
It's fun. It's a fun problem to solve.
Yep.
And I just want to say Casey and I are available after hours.
Yeah, we're available.
From 5 to 9 p.m. We can moonlight as we'll set up your studio for you.
Yeah.
It's a weird
touch.
It's a fun little I was stressed with this because I had the deadline of the 100th live stream for Here to Help, but I think if I had more time, I would have enjoyed it more, because it is like you're like a little interior designer, and
totally.
It's just like a thing I am not used to, and was like, oh, this is fun, like putting up a few things and being like, maybe fun's not the right word, but like putting something up and going like, you know what, this ain't it, and then just putting it down and then resetting it up and going.
I think fun's the right word. I mean, it is like, I mean, it's like, my like I was saying before, like this is the only podcast studio I've ever been in. I come from like a video production background, so like set design has always like been a part of it, and it's always fun building sets and creating looks on camera. But then since doing like mostly podcasting for the past couple of years, anytime I like see clips on like TikTok or Instagram or something of a podcast, I'm always like, what kind of chairs are those?
Yeah, for sure.
What's that lamp in the background? Oh, where'd they get that couch? Like that sort of stuff.
It's so fascinating too, because clips are so like more and more important with podcasting every year, that whole aesthetic goes into the thought of like even people coming up with like the premise of their show. It's like, how do we want the studio to look? How do we want our brand to look, and the the clips to look? And it's just very, like 6 years ago, that was just kind of like, what idea do you guys want to do for a podcast? And then you just did the podcast. But now it truly is like, from the ground up, people thinking of all of the visual aspects as it just becomes more and more important.
And you have to think about the visual aspect of like this much space around each talent too. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, totally.
Because that's what's going to be seen by the most eyeballs, is what's like right here and right here.
Yep.
With each person on camera, which is crazy. It's crazy.
It's so
to have to like focus
bizarre
in on that.
Yeah.
Especially as like an audio. I still don't really understand. Like you're saying, we were right to like pivot to video. That's true. But like, I still don't understand who's on YouTube watching podcasts to me.
A lot of people.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I will never do it. Even podcasts I love that have a video component, I'm like, that's really not how I'm consuming that. Like I want it here when I'm kind of like doing something else. Like it'll never make any sense to me. But God bless, whatever.
Do you watch YouTube on TV at all?
No.
Okay.
I watch TV on TV.
But well, I have like the YouTube app on my Apple TV, and I mean that's why I think that's how a lot of people like. I love a 45-minute, hour-long video, and I put it on TV, and that's how I watch a lot of my favorite YouTube channels. A lot of like video essays about movies, mostly, but I'm like, I watch it. I put it on my TV, and I watch it in my living room.
No, I get that. It's just not when I come home. I want to watch TV. And then when I'm like doing my errands or walking around town, that's when I'm listening to my podcasts. That's separate.
You're in the old world.
I'm very old school like that. In that I like to listen to podcasts.
My wife and I have this exact conversation like every 3 days. She will want to watch something on like Max or a show, and then when I'm throwing something on, I'll go to the YouTube app and then kind of go through my channels that I'm subscribed to. And both of it is like somehow becoming more and more foreign to us, of like, you just scroll through YouTube and like, I feel like I'm 7 years old. But then
what are you watching? Like Bluey? I don't understand. What's on there?
But yeah, what am I watching on YouTube? Honestly, I'm in a rabbit hole of watching YouTube videos about making YouTube videos. So that's mostly, unfortunately, it's mostly podcast stuff.
That's why you're such a good producer.
Yeah. I can't get out.
That's where you succeed and I fail, because I will not be doing that.
I was on a kick for a while watching chopper builds, like half-hour-long videos of guys just building motorcycles. I think I watched all of them. I ran out, and I'm like,
awesome.
There's got to be more guys got to be building motorcycles on YouTube, because it's great.
I dated a guy that did that, and he was like going to build me one, and then I was like, we had to break up before he could really finish the build.
He took the sidecar.
It's not worth it.
When you said it's over, he took the sidecar off and
he started unscrewing it,
handed it to you.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of this guy James Hoffman, who is a like coffee. He's a barista YouTuber.
I watched that.
I'm obsessed with him.
Yes. This is like the center of our Venn diagram right here.
My mom asked me what I wanted for Christmas, and I just watched a bunch of his gift videos and then sent like links from like.
You're gonna have to tell me what you're getting.
Yeah, a scale for my portafilter. So when I'm weighing the shots that I'm pulling. So I'm getting
Like a little mini one?
yeah, literally.
Yeah, I already have that. So
Nice. Oh,
I already have that.
Okay,
Yeah.
we know about Casey in Videoland. Anya, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience with Headgum?
Yeah. Yeah, so funny. Like I got hired as audio producer / engineer, editor / studio manager. And that's how Headgum does it, which is really nice because we're a very small team. I don't know if people know this. There's only 5 people on our team, technically.
Yeah.
Is that true?
On the
You, me.
production team?
On the production team. And
You,
kind of that's all of
me.
Headgum because
Me.
most of the other people work on
Yeah,
Gumball, which
5.
is like the ads platform. And then there's Marika, who is our like director of marketing. So she kind of like straddles. But our team is 5 full-time people, which is fun.
Very surprising.
Lots of different hats. Yeah, I think a lot of people are shocked by that, which is nice. We
In
rely
2
really,
cities, New York and LA, 5 total.
Yeah.
That's so wild.
it's crazy. But we rely a lot on freelancers like yourself, which is really nice, and like how the machine is able to run. But so yeah, so I started like that. Started when there was nothing in this room. But I came from like a very different world. Like I was like a photo producer for a long time and kind of in that world. And so like I've always been head producer brain, but I went to school for audio over the pandemic and immediately got this job, which was very lucky. And so it was a lot of truly making things up as I go along and figuring it out. And a lot of YouTube videos. My first year at Headgum, I was on YouTube a lot, but not in an enjoyable, like
In a homework way.
in like a stressed out,
Yeah.
I have to figure this out in the next 30 minutes way. But that's a nice way to learn. So yeah, it was
I
nice.
still do that all the time.
Oh, yeah, it hasn't stopped. Yeah. Sometimes you have to figure something out really fast and you go on YouTube.com.
Then you go on YouTube, and then hopefully the good YouTubers will have chapter markers, and I can like, okay, intro. I don't need the intro.
Yeah.
I don't need the comparison of the different products. Just tell me how to set up this one thing.
I
right
do
now.
the speed two times X,
Yeah.
and then like the nice Eastern European man explains to me like whatever I'm doing wrong. But now my title is technically director of production because I oversee all of the shows that happen on the West Coast. So like some of them are in the studio, but some record remotely. Which is good and bad. Like that's like a very separate part of my brain than the brain that's like on my hands and knees in the studio. And so like that's the hardest part of my job is being like sometimes I'm inbox person and sometimes I'm like manual labor person, and those are 2 different people.
They definitely are. And I had like a similar, not realization, but like over the weekend, I realized I was very behind on like producer stuff, and I was very ahead on like engineer editing stuff, and was like, okay, I have to stop. I have to get off Pro Tools and like answer emails because I'm like, and what you're saying with all of the different roles you have, that balancing act is like so challenging. How do you?
It's really crazy. I mean, especially editing.
Is it just like whatever fire is the biggest is what you're focused on? Do you have like any sort of, I don't know, tricks with it, or is it just kind of like waking up and just going like, all right, what do we got to do first?
I think the right thing for me to do would be to have like, between this hour and this hour, I do this, and between this, but it never works out that way because we're constantly putting out fires, or just like Casey was saying, like our needs change all the time. So like every day it's just going to be a little bit different what has to happen.
I've tried that, but it stresses me out. Like I've tried to put like hour by hour stuff on my calendar, and I realize our jobs are very deadline focused with like content having to come out. And so I was like, oh, maybe if I do it hour by hour, that will be helpful. And then I realized like, oh, I just set 7 additional deadlines and on top of the one.
Right. And like something will come, you'll get an email or a text. It's like very urgent. That's just how things, very urgent, like as urgent as things get in the podcast world, which is not that urgent, but it feels like you have to immediately fix that before you can like go back. But the editing thing I think is really real. I think that's the craziest part of what we do and what we ask a lot of our freelancers to do is like be an editor and a producer. I think like when you're in an edit and when you're in that machine, you're so like zoned in and your brain is like so focused in on that.
Yeah.
It's so like even if you get in, you can stop and like get out and go to your inbox, but I feel like it's just impossible for me to multitask while I'm editing. It's just, I don't know, maybe I wonder if Emma talked about this. I feel like she's probably good at it.
I mean, going back to something you said earlier, Anya, that I definitely related to with the working on different shows, like the variety of shows. The one thing that has taught me is it kind of like showed me what I was good at by,
Yeah.
I think I just kind of like took some things for granted, and then working on like a new show, different hosts would point out like, whoa, nice job with this. And my brain was just like, oh, well, I just do that. Or working on a new show and being like, oh, I thought I was way better at this type of editing than I actually was. So.
And being able to delegate that away, or like you do a good job of this, where you're like, I'm going to hire someone who's good at this part, and then it will be beneficial for everyone.
That's definitely how I'm trying to like plan out my future. Is like I feel like I spent the last 10 years trying to learn as many different parts of the podcast production as possible, but now I want to be in a position where it's like, okay, I know like this new show really needs this, and this is not my strength, or even like in a more lazy way, like this is not something I want to do. So
Totally.
I'm going to have someone like help me with this specific thing that I know like they're really good at, because I feel like for years it was just like one man band just doing all of the parts, and that just over time gets more and more tiring. So
and unsustainable. And like there's no point, like the people that you're talking about that are good at that, there's like a good chance that they actually enjoy that part. You get to do the parts you enjoy.
Yeah.
I often feel like I like I don't even know what the word is. Like I like overlook the things that are easy for me, because I'm like, yeah, of course I can do this part because that's really easy and that doesn't really count as work. And I'm like, no, it's like you should follow like what comes easily to you.
Yeah.
And you should be challenged by your work, but like there's also whatever your strengths are, like you should play to those and make it and make that your job.
It makes it way more fun too.
Totally.
We talked about video and clips. Are there any other things since you guys have started that you feel like has been any sort of like significant changes in, I don't want to say like the podcast landscape, it sounds very corny, but are there things you've noticed in the last like couple years that you feel like is changing, whether it be with content or like the way episodes, I don't want to say are released, or maybe types of shows, any sort of noticeable differences for you guys that you've noticed?
One thing that I've noticed that, I mean, I shows have been doing it forever, but I've noticed it a lot more now, especially in the like last year or so, is the podcast feels like it's the hosts are the hosts of the show, but it feels like the whole show is everybody in the room. And we do have, I feel like who has embraced that the most that we work with is Caleb Heron. And he will sometimes bring a bunch of people into the studio. Like he wants a studio audience, and he'll get like a bunch of friends. He likes playing to people in the room and hearing people laugh in the room. And that's something I've noticed in a lot of podcasts that I would listen to, is like I'm hearing a lot more voices, and it just feels like it's become less like sort of an NPR style, two people talking to each other
dryly
about a single
back and
topic.
forth. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And now it's like it's almost like a Muppet Show feel, which I love.
I love that too. I know
the
some
feel of
fans
it.
don't like it. Like there's some shows that went from recording remotely to recording in our studio,
Yeah.
and their fans will like go off in their Instagram comments being like, the producers need to shut the fuck up. And I think it's insane. But I mean, I get like whatever, that's not their preference, because I just think it sounds so much more fun. Everybody, you can tell everyone's hanging out together and having a good time. I like love, there's shows where like I know who the producer is just from listening, and like I mean, Kevin, you're like a part of your shows, and it's like it's a nice balance. Like you're never the main focus, but it's like they're able to play off you, or there's segments that are about you, or like you're just like a character on the show. I think it's awesome.
Dane wrote about it in the he didn't specifically, but in his newspaper, there was like a big piece about like on mic talent producers and stuff, and apologies, I don't remember who wrote that specific article, but it was really interesting. What I really loved about it is he got a bunch of anonymous quotes from people talking about their experience working with, and they didn't like name names or anything, but like, you know, did fame get to your head, or like more interestingly, like did fame get to your host's head, and did their ego change and stuff? And it was mostly positive. I would say it was like 7 out of 10 were like, they've always been like very cool and chill and haven't really like changed. Then there's one person that's like, it kind of depends. And then there's one person who's like, they've really changed for the worse. And it was like, wow, that's very cool.
Brutal.
Yeah. A great piece, but
Good Tape is the newspaper.
Good Tape. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which is like a newspaper all about audio, which is cool. And it's
awesome.
like they print it in physical form, which is really nice.
Yeah.
What I was going to say was, the thing that I'm glad that's changing, which is maybe rude and fucked up, but I'm so glad that no one, and this doesn't really have anything to do with this, like Headgum was never in this arena, but, well, that's not true. Well,
I'm dying to hear what you're going to say.
Oh, damn. I don't know if I can say it now.
Do you want me to jump in with something and you can think more about it if you want to say it?
Yes.
I
forgot we did this.
The other interesting thing is, like, for Hollywood Handbook, for example, I did not start at the beginning of that show. I was a couple years in, and I know there are still people that are like, get this fucking guy off the show. Like, but it's like, I've been on it for 8 of the 11 years. It's like, I'm probably going to be on it.
Yeah.
Whereas like for We're Here to Help, for example, because I was on episode 1, I think people were much more like, because I was at the very beginning, I think people were a little more like welcoming of like, well, these are the 3 people, the 2 hosts and the producer. But for like older shows that maybe, even though they traditionally, you know, to what you're saying, one of the things that I think made Hollywood Handbook stick out, one of the several things, was they always were very encouraging of bringing like staff on and stuff, but there was no like producer at the time. And then when I started producing and was on a little more regularly, there was definitely like a bumpiness of some people that were like, this is great, Chef Kevin, LOL. And then others that were like, let's let the host do the hosting. But now I think,
isn't that just, they're just jealous. They just want to hang out with their favorite hosts. That's what I think. I'm like, I get that.
I think that's just, they don't like change. And so like a new thing was just, they're like, no, this isn't what I agreed to. In
the contract where I got this podcast for free for many, many years.
When I signed the Hollywood Handbook contract as a listener.
What people need to understand is the hosts of the show run out of things to say, and they're like, hey, you over there, please say something for a minute.
And they love having these people love to be in front of other people, making them laugh. That nothing could make them happier.
Yeah.
So they enjoy when my insane interrupts the show or whatever.
I almost picture it like a stand-up who like is ready to start doing crowd work, but then the audience stood up and went, don't talk to me. It's like,
or don't talk to him. Just do your own thing.
Keep just talking to yourself, or talking to me, because I think you're talking to me for some reason.
Right. Maybe that's it. It like breaks the like parasocial thing where it's like, oh, they actually have another friend and it's not me.
They're sitting at home and they're chiming in, and it's just like, well, they don't respond to me, so why are they responding to that guy?
Right.
But that's what's funny about like Caleb's show and Doughboys and Handbook and stuff that like have a few people like behind the scenes that are on mic, is it does, you know, my opinion is change the energy for the better. It just feels like there's just an overall more energy because there's like more people to like, you know, riff off and like, you know, get their like laughter and energy from. Where I think that was like what was so hard about 2020 Zoom podcast was it all of a sudden became like very just like it's me and the microphone, and there's like I think about like people doing stand up on like Zoom. I was to people just watching in the chat.
Right.
Like, that
and
was
people
tough.
people giving laughs in the chat or claps like that. It was such a dark time.
So weird.
Although, like to be fair, we're only talking about comedy chat podcasts.
That's
like,
true.
I don't necessarily. Well, no, that's not true. There's a lot of shows like there's like NPR shows where they bring on the producers and that like they're able
Yes.
to kind of peel back the curtain a little bit of like how that segment was made or how the show. There's a whole
This
startup. Is that what it was called?
This is going to. What did you say? Sorry, I
So
talked too long.
startup that podcast startup like
Yeah,
that was
I like
the whole
that
thing.
show.
I think it was great. It was really smart.
I started listening to it like right before I moved to LA, or like maybe right when I moved to LA, and I was
Mhm.
like, "Whoa, this is awesome!" I really enjoyed that. This is the startup of Twitch. Will this exact conversation maybe perfectly segue into a podcast simulator scenario? Perhaps.
Okay.
Before we do get into Pod Sim, are there any other things we should talk about? I love chatting podcast production with you guys so much. And I'm trying to think if there's anything that I missed. Oh, one thing that I always enjoy chatting with you about is I think all three of us are big fans of streamlining a process, and especially as you said, having, you know, so many shows and a team of 5 with additional support from like freelancers, but like a core squad of 5, you have to have like the most efficient possible process. How is that? You know, are there things that you've been like proud of that you've streamlined, or maybe things that have like stuck out to you in the last year or two where it's like, damn, when I started, this was like a 25, you know, step process, and now it's like 7 things that, you know, I'll answer one for Anya is the audition template you made so that freelancers can just come in and open a template and hit record has always been like extremely appreciated from me.
Did you not have that elsewhere?
Earwolf did, but then I had several years where I was by myself. And so it was just
so
a
you were doing
little
it.
chaotic, like setting up sessions and stuff.
Fair.
So like now I have like a system, but when you don't have that, those little things that add like 30 seconds, but you have to do it every single day. Even though the reality is it added maybe 3 minutes to your week, it feels like 45 minutes. Same with Casey with video. I know like the camera setup has been like, you know, I feel like freaking Spielberg back there of like, yeah, let's go. And then something Brett Morris has pointed out with engineering is that he finds very funny, and I agree with, frankly, is he's like, you know, I want to make my job so that other people can come in and it's very easy for them. However, sometimes people, which is very true, they get like a false sense of confidence where like, I know how to do this shit. And then they like their elbow hits space bar and they go, Mom, what happened? And they like fully panic. And both of you have been victims to several FaceTimes from me of like, the screen went black, Dad. I don't know. What do I do? And then it's like, just the HDMI cable is clearly unplugged. And I'm like, thank you. And then I panic, put it in, and I'm like, we're good. And then I like hang up.
I mean, I think what's crazy, and I only realized this recently, was that like we don't get those phone calls from you or anyone else. Like they were happening the same frequency from every freelance engineer that we had, and then they just slowly stopped happening over time.
Which is great, and I love. And it's been a nice peace of mind if I'm not in the studio. Like for a while, I really felt like all right, there's a recording happening. I am not at the office. I need to be on standby for someone to call if it's like, oh, this light's not working, or the switcher's not working or something. And it's been really nice to not be getting calls like that for a while. It makes me feel like we've done a good job.
Absolutely.
We've raised our freelancers to be grown adults.
Well, and also like it was all of us together, like figuring out every single thing was a new process that was constantly being updated. So then it's like,
and every time, like I would call Anya sometimes if she wasn't here. She'd call me about video stuff if I wasn't here. But it also, like every single time we would do it, like I mean, I would take mental notes, and I assume you also do, about like what can we do to make these calls less frequent?
Yeah, totally. Which is like the goal. I know. I feel like we can't really answer your question because like from the most boring minutia. No. I mean, I think it would make sense in like a place where all of these things existed before, but we really went from 0 to 100 on so many things, or it was such a blank slate that like I'm like everything, putting like labeling every cable
Yeah.
that was like the best thing. It took me so long, but that was like the best thing I ever did. And then, just like creating a way for people to book their own sessions, like that took me so long to figure out.
Yeah.
With like this like archaic Google Calendar system or whatever. So it's like such stupid, boring stuff, but it was like everything needed a system or a process. And then I have like a whole huge list of like things that still need processes, and at some point in my life I will get to them.
Yeah, for a while we had the lights running off of like an iPad app.
Oh yeah.
Figuring like, oh, this everyone can use this. It'll be so easy to change everything. And the app was so buggy, and like it turned it into like, all right, how can we dumb down everything to just be switches that we can hit and turn on?
And that was the thing. We like went to the New York studio, which is like doesn't have a full-time video person there, and so they had like kind of their own system. And then maybe you already knew this, but when I saw that they turned on one power strip and it powered all of the lights, I was like, well, we got to get us that. We got to do one power. We got to do one button.
Then there was we saw that, and it was. But I also took note that like, they ordered different lights here than what we ordered in LA, and the lights here can't operate like that. We literally had our friend Mark, shout out Mark, boyfriend of Rochelle, shout out Rochelle.
Oh, nice.
Who like had to come in and like custom wire the lights to be able to
like he had
switch them. Like he had to create the wires himself to plug into everything to make it so you guys can come in and just hit the switch and turn it on.
Yeah, he's like moved on. He works in like fashion product design now.
Yep.
Yeah.
But he used to work.
He was like an
TV,
electrician on sets,
and so he came in with like he had like two things that then there was like fire happening. Like I don't know, it was like crazy, and he took a cable that only had X
soldering
number,
is what it's called.
Soldering, and I knew that, and it had like this many inputs, and then it had the number that we needed, and then it was crazy.
That's very impressive.
It's good and that's a good thing is when the people bring in other people that you know.
Oh yeah, that's a big tip for anyone out there trying to make a studio
or make
anything. If there's something where you're like, this is outside of my realm and watching a YouTube video won't help, like I can't cut open a wire and know what needs to be going on in there, and that's like, all right, time to call someone who can.
Yeah, don't YouTube being an electrician under 60 seconds.
Yeah. But also, like, make friends with people in, like, film and TV. Like, if you want to be in podcasts, you want to make video podcasts, like, make friends with editors, film and TV people, because they are all needing work right now, and they'll want to work with you on something, and they'll have years of experience of doing things at a much different level that you won't necessarily need, but you'll be able to, like, pull the knowledge that they have or borrow their services. And I'm sure they'll be very excited to work with you on whatever it is you want to do.
Truly been my favorite part of the last 2 years, and a thing, like I said earlier, that I'm just going to continue to focus on is just meeting different types of production people. I think is just only more and more, valuable. Jesse Farrar in the chat from Go Off Kings. We had a really fun conversation after they recorded here, just about the same thing, just swapping notes about their studio setup. And I know, Casey was helpful with camera stuff for them, and just figuring out mics, the ATEM for me. And I know I definitely inspired by you guys for that. Those conversations are just extremely helpful. One other streamlined thing that I thought of, which is, not directly something that you guys have to, I guess you deal with it in the sense that you guys, like myself, work on it every day, is Gumball. I do want to say, I do think the Gumball site, which if you're not familiar is an independent ad agency that provides ads for both Headgum, all Headgum shows, but also a lot of hundreds and hundreds of independent shows. Having worked with other ad agencies on ads, I think Gumball did a really good job of streamlining that entire process for creators, and just making it where you could very easily get approve or decline an ad in a way that was very host focused and looking at like payments and stuff. And so just having worked with other ad agencies that were truly extremely frustrating, I feel like Gumball's was very efficient. So I don't really know. I don't have like a
Love
hot
to
take
hear
for it.
that.
I will tell them. I mean,
But
it comes from the fact that Headgum created Gumball,
Yeah.
and it came from people who had made podcasts, needed to sell ads on podcasts, knew exactly what they needed in order to make it an easy process for them, the people who host podcasts, and then just turned that into a platform.
Right. I think that's why I personally think that Gumball is so good, is because there's a network of shows, like a part of it already, where we can all talk to the people who work on Gumball and go like, this isn't working, we need this change, and they listen and they make the changes.
You
And
had an idea that they implemented, or they're implementing.
I've had a few.
We don't, but like it's great, which is like a great thing when you're like, you can tell me, I think it'd be nice if this happened. I kind of take your case up to our software engineers on Slack and say, I think you should do this, and they go, that's a really good idea, Anya. And I say, thanks, I thought of it by myself, and then they make it, which is cool. And whatever, like the ad sales part of what we do is obviously boring, but it's a necessary boring thing, and it's nice that it's like it's something we can do in-house.
And I truly feel like, as someone that works with a lot of hosts, if they're going between like a few network options and they're all kind of similar, but one of them has a stronger, not even stronger, but just like a more easy to use, a more like UI driven ad interface, having worked with ones that were like, this is hard and frustrating and I'm tired of emailing salespeople that don't care, they're going to go with that one, I think. So
yeah, totally. It's also cool if you're listening and you want to advertise on a podcast, you can like go on and just buy an ad with like a credit card on Gumball. Like you don't have to have like an invoicing system, or whatever, like a separate accounts payable situation. Like you just go on and you can buy an ad on your favorite show anytime, self-serve, which is cool.
I've talked to the last few people I've chatted with. Patreon has come up every discussion, and my kind of take is this, probably not even a hot take, probably a room temperature take, is I feel like the future for smaller and middle creators financially is going to be, if not Patreon, like paywalled service, like subscription, easy to use services for people to be like, I have a bonus episode, subscribe to my whatever, Patreon, Substack, memberful, X, Y, or Z. Or something like that you're describing, which is a very easy like ad interface, so that it doesn't have to be a situation that a podcaster has put in, which I've seen dozens of, is they go, well, I can't get 100,000 downloads an episode for McDonald's, so I guess I'm going to get $0 all month long. And so I think like companies like that are going to be continue to be like an important part for smaller and middle creators, because the bigger ones, like everything's going to be thrown at them regardless. It doesn't really matter. Money is a joke to them. And they will just continue to get like crazy money regardless. But for, 95% of podcasters and creators, stuff like that is like what, could financially keep them to continue doing the show, where it's like, hey, I really enjoy the show, but I make decent money, so I'm going to keep doing it and, maybe enjoy it more because I now have like a financial incentive to doing it. In addition to only liking the show, now I can, financially benefit from doing the thing that I enjoy as well. So
totally. And hopefully like quit one of your many jobs or whatever, so you can do podcasting more, or whatever it is you want to do more.
Absolutely.
Be nice.
Okay, I'm keeping you long, and I know you're both very busy, so let's jump into Podcast Simulator.
Oh my God, I'm scared.
I'm so excited for this.
Two different reactions for you, Kevin.
For a little bit of context, this one I have the least knowledge of what is happening in this simulator. I know the bones and the rough outline of it. And then I frantically called my very talented editor who makes my clips and edits the YouTube videos down for this, Zach Turner. And I called him driving from Headgum, and I was like, buddy, please help me out. And so I explained the outline, and then he kind of padded it out for me. And I looked at it for maybe 30 seconds before admitting you into the Zoom. So
that's production, baby.
Yeah,
let's do it.
We're
doing it live.
So thank you, Zach. So this is producer mode for Podcast Simulator. Casey and Anya. Oh, I got to read my favorite little line that I put, and I always take a minute to find it. Casey and Anya, as you know, sometimes things out of our control can sabotage us. That's just the nature of the job. But how we react can dictate our future. And with that, let's begin. That's my little line. Today, you will be co-producing the interview/confession show Up and Out. I am very excited to read you the premise of this show, which is, let me zoom in. Award-winning author and humorist Jordy Gale is her name, takes guests thousands of feet into the sky for intimate and revealing conversations in a hot air balloon. As they drift through the clouds, guests share their personal stories, confessions, or turning points. With breathtaking views as the backdrop, each episode offers a mix of vulnerability, humor, and awe. And you both are recording and filming in this show. So...
Wow.
No, we're not. No, we're not. It's in a hot air balloon. What are you talking about?
I'm very excited. What are your initial thoughts?
The audio is going to be horrible. It's just going to be flapping wind.
Video is going to be great, though.
You're going to have to ADR everything they say.
Well, an entirely ADR'd podcast is very funny.
Yeah. Like they'll talk in the moment. It won't
That's
be
a good premise.
scripted, but then you'll take a transcript of it. You'll get them back in a studio afterwards and you'll have them ADR their own conversations.
I'd like to think I got roasted so hard in some comments this week about not giving lapel mics enough credit. So maybe we're going to have to best case scenario this. I agree, Anya. It is probably not going to sound good. Let's pretend for the sake of this scenario that lapel mics and isotope will make the audio not horrendous. Definitely,
dialogue isolate's going to be coming into play here.
Yeah, it's going to be working overtime.
Okay.
But yes,
because there's like the fire that right?
Isn't there like a that fuels it and elevates
and that's
it?
That's gonna be loud, I think. But you're right. I'm fine. Dialogue isolate or some kind of AI software will come to fix the problem here. Okay.
Adobe.
Fire is part of the show, though. It's how they know. That's how the people who are only listening know that it's in a hot air balloon.
Well,
otherwise
they'd have no idea where
they are.
Like as a listener, maybe you get paranoid if you don't hear the fire.
Yeah, you're like they are plummeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about both of your roles really quick. Anya, you're the producer. You're in charge of scheduling the recordings of the hosts and the guests, the pre-interview with guests. You're working with the network on social clips and general marketing, ads for the show, and growing the damn thing. You're going to be recording the show. So it's going to be probably, let's just say, 2 very high-end lapel mics, and then you standing there making sure that it is recorded. Casey, you are the video producer. You're going to be filming this and editing the episodes. Like I said, they are in a hot air balloon. Maybe something to ease a little bit of the stress of this is it is only 8 episodes, so it is not a 52-piece. Obviously, the network has to pay for the hot air balloon use. It's a lot of stuff going on. Why did I not put paying for that should have been the first thing, is paying for hot air balloons.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah.
Yes, they're also providing a booker, marketing support, ad support.
Love it.
A classic Casey and Anya dynamic duo, divide and conquer. How do you feel about this? Is there anything that you think is missing here, or is this doable, all things considered?
When Anya's on my team, I feel like anything's possible.
Wow.
Preach.
Huge. And ditto. It's going to look really good because Casey's filming it.
Thank
It's
you.
going to sound fine because of technology and how far it has come.
Suspend your disbelief a little bit, you know?
I'm producing
the
a
audio's
show.
going to sound great.
Okay. I'm coming up against real problems and I'm solving them.
Yeah, I mean, a real problem would be I don't know if everyone's going to be able to fit in the hot air balloon. I don't know
thought
if the
this too, but I
cameras
think they're pretty big. No,
I don't know. I've never been in one.
I think the base is like pretty big.
My initial thought would be that there needs to be a second balloon that we are in.
Sure.
I have to cut you guys off. You're spoiling so many of my scenarios for you.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Let's
We'll stop
begin.
thinking.
This is called Pilot License. This is for Anya. For your
Great.
first episode, the hot air balloon pilot is reacting a little too loudly to the secrets being shared. When a guest confesses to maybe like an affair, the pilot in the casket with you goes, "Oh, damn." Not so subtly under his breath. This keeps happening a few more times. In a scenario like this, Anya, would you maybe say something, or are you ignoring this completely?
I'm 100% saying something.
Great. I'm glad you picked that because I think ignore it was completely blank. So you picked the right choice.
Do you want to know like how I'm saying something or no, it doesn't matter?
Let's see. The hot air balloon pilot is too loud and becoming the peanut gallery during the recording. You quietly and politely, I think that's your move. You quietly and politely ask him to keep it down. However, he looks at you stunned, like calling out a texter in the movie theater. He says, "Crazy thing to say to the guy keeping us all alive." Even though the ride is 45 minutes, he starts to descend after 20 and says there are fuel line issues. So even though I think you did the right thing, the recording did kind of end a little abruptly.
Okay.
Host grade C minus, network grade D feels too tough. I know I put those. I should
That's
say,
okay.
I'm going to say B minus and maybe B. But I think you did the right thing here. How would you have called it out in that scenario?
Okay, so we're obviously on a group text already, me and the pilot,
Yeah.
because that's how we're operating on like a big, intense shoot.
Yeah.
But I go to a side text with just the pilot, and I tell him something so nice about how good of a job he is doing.
Yeah.
And then I say, if you can try to keep the reactions down just a little bit,
Yep.
it's just going to be hard for us to hear the hosts. But I'm loving the enthusiasm. I'm glad you love this episode so much. It's going to be really great. And
That does seem like it is quiet and polite. Like, you did do this.
I'm just telling you how I
And
would do
then
it.
his reaction.
He went nuts. And and the thing is, as soon as we land, he's fired. We get a new pilot.
Of course, yeah.
So it's no problem. And we have 20 minutes of an episode. That'll be the first one will be kind of short. And then we get longer ones from there.
I love that approach. Unfortunately, Anya, that approach has become the default for Sean and Hayes of Hollywood Handbook. The compliment sandwich approach to the point where now anytime Sean or Hayes say something like, "Hey, I really appreciate what you're doing," I immediately inhale as I wait for that being said. Yeah. So I do like that
I
approach.
understand. It can backfire if someone's too smart like you.
Game
But this
recognized
pilot
game.
is crazy, so I don't think he would have picked up
Yeah,
on
this
what
is
I
an
was
insane
doing.
reaction from the pilot.
This is a hot air balloon pilot.
Yeah, he's not like a wheeling and dealing producer guy like you.
A commercial hot air balloon pilot. Next scenario.
Yeah.
This is for Mr. Casey.
All
to
right.
get a few more angles, you bring on Doughboy's associate producer, Amelia Marino, to help film. Did I spoil her a lot? Yeah, I did. Unfortunately, you're told when you walk up to the basket of the hot air balloon, you can only have 5 people on board. Parentheses. Jordy, the host, the guest, Anya's going to record it, obviously, the pilot, and one other person. The pilot says the 6th person could follow along in another balloon to film some B-roll, though.
That's why he's so good.
Casey, here is your multiple choice. Who do you choose to go in the other balloon? You can choose the host, the guest, Anya, the pilot, Amelia, or yourself.
Okay. See, this is my producer brain as I was already, before we even started, figuring out what are the possible obstacles I'm going to have to overcome on this shoot. And thought another balloon will be necessary. And I'm glad that it is here, and I have to now decide who goes on that balloon.
Yeah.
To me, the funniest option is the pilot goes on the other balloon. But to try and play this,
2 pilots on one balloon, 0 on the other.
yeah, well, yes,
Crazy.
yes, yeah.
You
That
can
would be
kind of
funny.
guess where the scenario goes from there if you were to pick the pilot.
It's suddenly a very different show.
I want to live in the reality of actually trying to make this show. And
Not
aside from
ending the
texting,
game.
not ending the game, aside from texting Anya on the side, this is fucking crazy. What the fuck are we doing?
And I do a thumbs up reaction, but
Yeah.
no comment because we can't get into this right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I would, because Amelia is there to get additional footage, I would put her in the other balloon to try and get shots of the balloon in the air.
Some B-roll.
Yeah.
Casey is choosing Amelia. You passed. You got an A from the host and an A from the network by not putting the pilot of the hot air balloon on the other one. The
That was
person
kind
who
of
was
a
there.
freebie.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it was and then yours was almost I would say a sabotage question.
Yeah. Mine was kind of like a suicide thing. Yeah.
Casey's was choose the correct person for the correct balloon. Okay, now you are joining forces on this next scenario. It's called Under the Weather. I'll try to read it quick. As you might imagine for a podcast recorded in the sky, weather conditions are incredibly relevant. The calmest winds are during sunrise, so all of your recordings are usually at 6:30 in the morning.
We both hate that.
We hate that.
Me
We're
too.
such later in the day people. You
Me
can't
too.
even believe.
The good news is your next guest just so happens to be free during that exact time window. Not only that, but he's by far the biggest guest you've had on the show yet. The balloon boy
Wow.
himself. Zach had to
That's
explain this to me.
huge.
From the hoax,
What?
the balloon boy hoax fame. Sorry, from the
Obsessed
balloon
with
boy
him.
hoax fame.
Yeah.
Turns out he's a big boy adult now. And is willing to tell his side of the story.
That is such a good get.
His
Yeah,
only
that's really good.
His only condition is that he can only record on one specific day, as his schedule is extremely booked, as you might imagine.
course.
Thank
Yeah,
goodness you can make that day work. However,
Right.
the night before the record, you get a weather alert that there is a storm coming, and the
no.
conditions during the record may not be what you would call, quote unquote, 100% safe. It looks like it will be about 75% safe to be exact.
Damn.
WID, Casey and Anya, are you canceling this recording? Are you going to proceed as planned?
This is our biggest guest yet. The balloon boy from the balloon boy hoax that Kevin doesn't remember or didn't even know existed.
I'm
Which is
too young.
crazy.
Too young.
Yeah, that tracks.
Mhm.
I mean, realistically, I'm saying it's not worth it.
no. Hold on.
Okay.
Back up. We can cancel right before they take off. You don't have to cancel the night before. You can cancel moments before
Okay.
we lift off. So I think we wait until the last possible moment, which kind of isn't one of the options that we're given, which means maybe that I'm playing the game wrong. But I think we proceed until this is like a third option. We proceed until right before.
Yeah. I agree. I think we would show up
Or
to the location on the day and
Yeah.
go like, all right, let's actually see if it's going to be bad. But
although
assuming
maybe what Kevin's saying is that right before they take
yeah,
off,
it
it's only
is
75% safe.
Yeah. And
Oh man.
and in real life, I mean, I've said on way lower stake stuff here in the studio, like it's not safe to like put the light there or
Sure.
or do that or something like that. Or like if someone has to climb on a ladder to fix something, I'm not gonna like have Rochelle climb up there because it's not safe. So instinctually, I would say not to do it because the worst case scenario is something goes bad and now it's on the news and then it's
Okay.
like we're never gonna
Hold
work
on.
again.
Hold on. That's an important point.
Yeah.
We're on the news.
Okay.
And we need this podcast to grow.
So
And here's the
you're
thing,
saying we should
Balloon
do
Boy.
it hoping that something wrong.
I'm just saying, worst case scenario, we're on the news. Best case scenario, we get a great episode. Worst case scenario,
And the
we're
worst
on
case is
news.
also really good.
Exactly. And here's the other thing: is Balloon Boy, Kevin. You might not know this because you don't know the story.
I don't.
He was never up in the balloon.
He was never up in the
So
balloon.
this would be like the second time that this was taken away from him.
Yeah.
So
When
it's like-
Zach, I said, "Who is that?" He said, "Who do you think it is?" And I said, Adam Sandler and Bubble Boy, and he said, "Wrong guy and no."
And that's not a thing either.
It's Jake Gyllenhaal is the
That's right.
Bubble Boy.
I say, for the sake of this, because also like the pilot's got to have. There's got to be a backup system up there. Life
If
jackets.
the weather's bad,
Yeah, like a thing,
jackets are the
a thing,
concern.
a thing that deploys. What's the thing?
A parachute.
Parachute. They've got to have some kind of safety system. up there.
Okay. Well, but we also don't know if we're considering that if we say proceed as planned.
I think we proceed as planned. I think it's win-win.
Here we go.
Yeah. Let's proceed as planned.
We are proceeding as planned. 75%. You take the odds.
Yeah.
You did it. You get an A.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, you think about it, 75%, it's like pretty good.
Pretty good.
odds.
I would take that to Vegas, baby. That's pretty good.
75% safe.
Yes. And
Listen.
you did it. Listen, what?
Thank you. I was gonna say I'm not really a risk taker in real life, but I am a risk taker with other
In
people's
podcast
lives.
simulator.
Yeah, that's
sure.
right. That's right.
Now we're doing a scenario that I called inflation. Good news.
Wow.
A huge company reaches out to both of you and offers insanely lucrative sponsorship deal for the podcast. The bad news, the main product just so happens to be a collection of rifles with memes spray painted on them. People who like hot air balloons also like guns, apparently. You know that Jordy might not approve of this from a moral standpoint, but dear Lord, is it a lot of money? And who doesn't like money?
Man.
I don't know, man. You could just not run it by her in advance and just present the ad read during the record, like you would any other non-gun related ad.
Damn it, Kevin.
So in a scenario like this, are you accepting the sponsorship and then just tossing it on her desk and being like, time to do the ads? Actually, it'd be funny if she did the ad reads on a smaller balloon. Or are you just declining it on her behalf and not even telling her about this opportunity of the, hundreds of thousands of dollar ad deal with big guns? Or are you just accepting it? And let's just say, for the sake of the stakes, you get a sizable chunk of this as
Okay.
well.
Oh,
All right.
man.
See, now that's important here.
Yep.
I would say there would need to be a few things I would need to know about Jordy and about, like, all right, assuming this is a Headgum podcast
Yep.
and we're dealing with our usual bosses.
Yep.
And they're like, there's a several $100,000 sponsorship for the
Yep.
show.
Uh-huh.
There's going to be pressure from that end to have it be on the show.
And it's only 8 episodes, which I feel like is even more pressure to accept
it.
as many of the ads
Yeah.
as possible because it's such a
Yeah.
limited run.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to recoup those costs fast.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And
And a hot air balloon isn't cheap, so we have a lot of
yeah,
we're
this-
already in the
Yeah.
in the
it's-
red.
This is an insanely stupid production we're running.
Yeah.
Not only the balloons, but the fuel for the balloons. And
Crazy expensive.
It's crazy expensive.
And then we need a second balloon.
And we need a second balloon with no
Yeah.
pilot and only Amelia's in it.
yeah,
Yeah.
poor thing.
It depends on how well we know Jordy. If Jordy has said stuff in passing about, like, fucking guns, man, we need to do something about it.
Yeah. Or just
Or
like,
if-
sorry, I'm late. Just got back from the gun range.
Yeah, or not even
Right.
that, but like if Jordy says something like,
Let's arm the
"I'll
left.
sell anything. I
Oh.
don't care if the check's right," you know.
Sure. Yep.
So,
Yeah, I think we position as that we have to arm the left,
oh, that's great.
and we say,
Every time I talk to Anya,
so what I'm always saying,
this is her line.
That's what I'm always saying. And I think if we position it as that and we say, and that's what we say in the ad read.
Yeah.
And the ad read turns into like.
And we have that the first sentence that Jordy says, she doesn't read the rest of the ad, but she says, we need to arm the left. Now she's on our side.
And
she doesn't want to take that back.
The listeners are on our side.
Yeah.
More importantly, they're like, oh, they're coming at this as like the revolution needs to be armed.
Yes.
So why not use the meme spray paint rifle?
Yeah,
company?
but then also, according to the prompt, it's gun lovers love hot air balloons. So maybe this is a different.
But we don't know what their politics are.
Yeah,
they could be hunters. Yeah. They like to hunt and go on a hot air balloon. That's actually the same kind of person.
The most apolitical activity, hot air balloon.
That's no problem. That's right.
I mean, I think we're leaning towards accept the
it. We need the money
sponsorship.
so bad. We need the money so bad.
You win.
Yes.
We're killing it.
Yes. You're being so nice to us.
Network grade
great.
A, host grade A.
Thank you so much.
We're on to the final scenario.
This feels incredible, by the way. We never win like this at work ever.
Because we've heard from Rochelle and Emma. Emma was telling me earlier, the Doughboys are in the studio next door right now. She was like, I failed, Rochelle failed.
Well, we still have one more to go. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you know what?
I'm trying to remember what it is because I didn't write this out. It just says book the company or don't book the company. And I remember like 2 hours ago on the phone saying a very specific, Zach, if you don't mind refreshing my memory of what book the company and don't book the company was. Ballpark. In the meantime, go ahead. No, I was just going to
say my guess is it's a bad company.
Oh, yes. Okay, this is great. Oh, this was so good. Buckle up. So there was a bit of a mishap with the hot air balloon company in that they were under the understanding, that's not how you say it, that they only needed you for 7 sessions and they didn't know that there was 8 episodes. So they're pushing back and they're saying like, oh, also it's way more expensive if you want to book this additional one. And then similarly, you book another big guest, maybe like Balloon Boy's brother or something, for this final episode. And basically, it kind of comes down to it where it's like, we probably shouldn't try to use the hot air balloon company that we have been using for the previous 7, because there's like 7 different issues with them. Maybe some safety regulation issues and some other things.
The pilot's crazy.
He does not like being called out. So you find another hot air balloon company that is definitely also sketchy, but you can book a time with them for this specific time that you need for the last episode. So in this scenario, and I apologize, I'm kind of doing it off the top of my head. Do you book this company that is a little sketchy, or do you just not do the recording and maybe try to reschedule it down the line and just say like, you know what, we need to take 2 months off and kind of come back to this?
Oof.
Can I ask what's sketchy about the company? Like, is there a hole in the balloon?
The age of the pilot is oddly young.
14-year-old pilot?
He's not 14, but you are not sure.
Okay.
When you ask if they're licensed, they're like, yeah. And in a way that you're like, why did you say it that way? And also, you hear them talking about like high school.
That's crazy. Yeah, they're like, we can do it between 6:30 and 7:55 when the bell rings. And
after volleyball.
Otherwise, do they seem like they might be good at it?
Yes. The sketchiest thing is it seems like it's run by teenagers.
Oh, no problem. I think teenagers are not given enough credit. Mm-hmm. They're very smart and capable.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we book them. You don't think? You think we take 2 months off just because they're teens? It's fine.
Well, I want to think it through.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was kind of like, we'll book them because we have like a deadline.
Look, we've worked with sketchy companies in the past.
Yeah. And here's the thing. You've been on 7 air balloon rides now. And so has Amelia. And so have I.
Oh, yeah. That's
so we kind of know.
We know if they're full of shit.
Or like we kind of could hop in there ourselves if we needed to.
Yeah. 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 I mean,
pilot-wise.
Pilot-wise, yes. I mean, I think it is just one lever to go up and maybe one lever to go down, and we can like probably handle it.
Are we insured?
No.
Oh,
Yeah. I
that's
figured.
a problem. That's gonna be a huge problem.
Yeah, it's gonna be a huge problem.
We're going up in these hot air balloons completely uninsured. That's crazy.
No, the previous company was. This one is
and
not.
this one isn't. Oh shit.
Yeah.
That's
this one is
crazy.
not.
Okay.
In real life, I would say let's just rebook another time
Mm-hmm.
with the company that we've already done 7 okay episodes with.
Mm-hmm.
And me and Anya are
And
like,
kind of
can't fucking wait for the show to be over.
Right. But maybe we package it as like a grand finale, and then we kind of up this, like, you know, we get several, like lots of really cool like we really go all out for that last episode and make it worth a 2-month wait.
Not just Balloon Boy, but like, you know, the Snoopy balloon from the Thanksgiving Day parade is up there with us.
That's really good.
That sort of thing. So, I mean, I'm kind of selling us to rebook.
I know, but I feel based on our track record so far that doing the reckless but really fun and exciting thing, it really has paid off for us so far.
So we're gonna go reckless and we're gonna book the company.
We're gonna book the company. You don't want listener drop off to happen in those couple months that you have taken a hiatus.
Yeah.
That's never good. And I think what's the worst that can happen? And also I trust teenagers more than. I mean, I think they're a little bit scary, but I think that we expect a lot out of them. And
I'm hearing more and more these days they can't read, so that's kind of concerning to me.
That's true.
But
these are teenagers who went to Zoom high school for a little while.
Yeah,
because that's bad too.
Yeah.
These aren't like the teenagers we grew up with.
No, they're not the teenagers we grew up with that are now our age as adults.
Right.
They are current teenagers.
Right. They went to Zoom high school and don't know how to socialize.
But we're gonna book them.
We're gonna book them anyway.
Okay.
We're gonna give them. We're throwing them in the deep end.
For the final scenario, Anya and Casey are going with booking the slightly sketchy company, and let's see what happens. What a great episode. However, as the balloon starts to descend, the sound of the police sirens fill the air.
No.
You literally are in jail.
No.
And here's why.
Yeah, why are we in jail?
I get why. We went with an uninsured company that has minors.
Why does that mean
it.
we go to jail?
Because we booked them.
They should go to jail. They ran the illegal company.
They're coming with us, but they're just going to juvie.
It's a loaded
teenagers.
police ride back. Here's why. In order to have your commercial hot air balloon license, you have to be at least 18 years old. And unfortunately, these guys are 16. And so
I didn't know that about the license.
Yes, most people don't. I actually didn't earlier today until I called Zach and said, I got the finale. But hey, it was a great show. You finished the final episode of Up and Out, which was a objective hit. Unfortunately, a bit of an issue with going to jail. But other than that, Casey and Anya, thank you so much.
How long are we going to be in jail, you know?
Probably like
and also, our numbers are going to be off the charts. Number one podcast in America.
Yeah.
We'll be
so
celebrating
Anya and I
in jail.
are in jail for a day or two.
Yeah, it's chill.
But then it'll be fine after.
I would die. If someone had to watch me go to the bathroom, that would be the last day of my life. So I'm dead, but Casey's alive and he's back and he's like reaping.
Yeah, I actually thrive in jail.
You get really buff
in 2 days.
in 2 days, and then you come back and you have the number one podcast in America. That's pretty good.
Pretty good.
They're like, that's that gun podcast.
And they went to jail. This is so cool.
Casey and Anya, thank you so much. You're both the best. Is there anything either of you would like to promote before I let you go?
Hey, check out our Headgum shows. You know, I'm on Doughboys all the time. The Headgum podcast, Anya and I are on all the time.
Mm-hmm.
There they go.
There's Lily Sullivan.
Lily Sullivan.
Nice.
Yeah, give them your Instagram.
My Instagram at Casey Donahue. Go to my website,
That's right.
CaseyMakesMovies.com. I make movies. There's like short films. There's like a bunch of stuff
Wow.
I've worked on there.
And keep your eyes peeled because it's gonna be other
Yeah,
stuff.
keep your eyes peeled
gonna be other stuff
next
we're working
month.
on.
So yeah, well, exciting announcement next month. Project Anya and I have in the works.
Pitwall's
I'm-
getting some shout outs in the chat too, by the way.
Hey, that's
Pitwall,
nice.
yeah. Hey, there's
Mhm.
Mitch looking at us right now,
Mhm.
and he's mad.
Tell him to come in here. I'm on Instagram at Radio Free Anya. I do want to say that I wanted to start. So I have a radio show that I do on terrestrial radio in Hudson Valley, where I used to live.
Nice.
It's like on the radio there, 90.7 FM, WGXC.org. However, I wanted to turn it into a Twitch show. And I want the chat to tell me if they think that's a good idea. So it's going to be like a radio show. It'll be me and my co-host who's in Hudson still. But we'd be going out on the radio, but we'd also be streaming to Twitch. Do you guys think we should do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Twitch audience, let us know if it's a good idea that the show should be on Twitch.
Would you watch is what I meant. Would you guys watch
A
that?
lot of yeses.
Okay, then I'll do that. So I will come back here to promote that when it's when I figure out how to start a Twitch account.
The chat is going off with yes right now. by the way.
Hell yeah. Okay, thank you. It's gonna be fun and weird. It's a music show, which
Hell
they
yeah.
can now do on Twitch, which is what I recently learned. So thanks,
can do
Twitch.
that.
Thank you, Twitch, for having me.
Thank you, Twitch. Awesome. Thank you so much to both of you for being here. I'd like to thank Zach Turner, who helped me assemble this bad boy last minute, was extremely
Thanks, Zach.
helpful, and does all the editing and clips for this. My sister Kate, who's been super helpful behind the scenes. Thank you, Kate. I know you're
Thanks,
watching.
Thanks,
And
Kate. Thanks, Will.
that's it.
Wait,
I'm gonna-
can I say one more thing?
Please, yeah.
One moment of earnestness. Thank you, Kevin, for having us. We literally
Yes,
love
thanks,
working with
Kevin.
you. It's
I
such
love
a
working with
pleasure
you.
to sit in this studio with you and talk shop or shoot the shit or
Yeah.
just complain about our lives. We
Yeah.
think you're the best.
You're one
It's
of the
the
best in the
best.
biz, bud.
It's truly,
You too. You guys rule.
truly.
Thank you so much for being here. Thanks everyone for watching in the chat. We had a ton of people watch today. Very cool. Not
Wow.
surprising to me, but was fun to watch.
Wow.
The numbers just go up throughout the entire stream.
Love
so
that.
thanks to everyone for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.